Today we suffered a great loss here in California, and city of Santa Clarita, the high school, Saugus High School, suffered loss. 2 students have been killed, 6 wounded, including the perpetrator, and it's pretty sad and somber day today. The most shocking part of this is that the perpetrator was actually a track star. Welcome to this week's episode of Talk. We are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
Tonight we will talk about what happened today in California, today, November 14th. What happened at Saugus High School, like I was telling Eddie earlier. The shocking news of who the perpetrator is and how things came about. And we will also talk about, if we get the time, to move on to the Univision Democratic Forum that will be held in about 2 days, and how that is all set up, which is really interesting, which proves a lot of the points we make here at Talk.
But before we begin with the tale of this really upsetting event, please make sure to follow us here on of course, on our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, but also please follow us on YouTube. The link is in our bio. Hit that link, subscribe to our channel so you guys get notified for the newest episodes. We do appreciate the increased following that we're getting, in not only in our following on Facebook, but in our snips. But we need the help on YouTube so we get the messages out, and the conversations that we're about to have are important for people to know, to understand why people do what they do. Mm-hmm. So please help us out by liking the video, sharing it, liking the snip that you may see, sharing it. And with that, Jaime, please take us through what happened today.
So as many of you probably already know or have heard, it's all over the news now. So another shooting. We want to say mass shooting because we believe that mass shooting should be considered differently. But since the definition by the FBI, it's what again?
4 or more.
4 or more persons. And it doesn't really clarify whether there were deaths or anything, right? It's just clarifying that people were injured, whether fatal or non-fatal. As I was saying earlier, the shocking thing about this incident in Saugus High School in the city of Santa Clarita is that the perpetrator, the attacker, I don't know how you say it. The attacker, the evil person, the gunman.
That's what I would just say. Gunman
was a track star. So that changes the whole conversation.
How so?
Right, because typically the person who commits such a crime or such an atrocity tends to fits a description. The isolated student, the outcast, the bullied person, the mentally ill. And things like that, right? Those are typical commonalities between shooters of schools like this. And this one's a track star, meaning that he was doing good in sports, meaning that he won medals, he competed. He probably went around other schools, competed with his own schoolmates, other schools, was going around. Maybe he was well-rounded, I don't know. For someone to be a track star, if you guys remember a lot of high school movies or even high school growing up, the track star tends to be kind of popular, kind of well-known, on the school newspaper, maybe on the local newspaper saying, so-and-so won this medal or won this track meet and so on and so forth. So kind of like a well-rounded, right? Someone that could probably apply to Harvard. Maybe he had good grades. I'm assuming probably he did. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
track star, right? So
hopefully we get more background on this kid. But hey, you're absolutely right on that. On the most part, that it's a track star. Mm-hmm. And when we look at mass shooters, like you already pointed out, Jaime, there's a certain profile they fit in. This is kind of a different, of course, based on preliminary reports, right?
Yeah, based on preliminary reports. Another interesting thing that we found out about the shooter is that today is actually his birthday. So he came and committed this crime on his birthday. Why? We still don't know. He tried to commit suicide. I believe that was the thing. But he's right now in critical condition at the hospital. So I'm pretty sure they're trying to keep him alive.
Right.
Not only to find out why he did such a thing, what was the motive behind it, but also to bring him to justice, right? To have him sentenced, and so on and so forth. Another interesting thing that this whole thing lasted 16 seconds. So that's a discussion we will actually go on from. 16 seconds it took from, based on surveillance videos, by the time he withdrew his gun, not loaded it, but pretty much clipped it, or I forgot the term right now.
Locked it?
He
primed it?
Got it ready. I forgot it.
Cocked it?
Cocked it. There you go. That's the word. I'm sorry. I'm a gun owner. I forgot. I drew a blank. He cocked it, meaning that, clack, clack, ready to shoot. It took 16 seconds, according to initial reports. By the time he took out his gun, right, from his backpack, cocked it, and shot the fires. That's fast. That's really fast. But at the same time, it's, I don't know.
Well,
it's kind of a...
Well, we kind of... Because when we heard the whole 16-second...
Yeah, we thought it was too fast.
We thought it was too fast, and Jaime kind of... Well, before we
recorded
the show...
reenacted it.
You want to go ahead and do it, yeah. So, if you guys can take a timer... Like, if you take a timer, right? And I'll do it right here, right now.
So, I'm the student, right? Oh, I'm standing up. But I'm the student, right? I'm walking to class. I'm walking, right, down the hall. So, let's say this is my backpack. Right. So let's start at 1, 2, 3. Get my backpack. I'm assuming the outside pocket. Right. Grabbed it. Cocked it. And started firing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
And yourself. It was short, right?
Myself.
Yeah. So that right there was about 15 seconds. So when Jaime and I were reenacting this and timing it, it felt like a lifetime. Like from the time you took it out from your bag to the time you aimed to the time you fired. Yeah. To the time you. Well,
we don't want to make all the moves because we don't want to. Right?
But when you hear on report like 16 seconds, that's pretty fast. And when we do it, I'm like, no, that's pretty much on average speed. He didn't even hesitate. He didn't even rush. So it's pretty feasible that this kind of a shooting can happen in 16 seconds. He used a 45 semi-automatic handgun. That's another thing that's...
but that's interesting. Semi-automatic handgun. I mean, well...
Go ahead.
That's a whole different discussion. I mean, a semi-automatic handgun is possible, but it's kind of like hard to get, kind of. So it could be that he actually had that gun. For me, it's just mostly the trigger fingers. Like how fast you can trigger it.
So then that comes to the question: has he trained on it before? Things that we don't know. These, like I said, things we're still waiting on, and things that we have to find out before we understand why this event took place. And all of the things, his birthday. I'm not gonna name this person. You guys can do that. You can find it out yourselves. But here's some of the things that it's interesting. Santa Clarita was the third safest, known as the third safest city to raise your kid
in the entire country.
California has strict gun laws, so you already have safe zones, whatever you call it,
gun-free zones. Background check, 10 days, 15 days,
and this still happened. So, what I'm gonna get into right now is more of the reaction that we just started seeing.
So before we move on to our response on what the talking points are, right, by politicians and the candidates, we want to give our prayers out to the families, our thoughts, our condolences. I know people are saying words don't do anything. Words can't bring people back to life. Words won't be able to fix the trauma. A lot of people will say, but actually it does. Because if words can cause people to feel the need to kill others, then I think words also can go ahead and heal wounds and traumas and things like that. So our prayers go out to the families who lost their children, those who were wounded, and the entire student body who had to witness it or heard about it or feared for their lives, and also for the community. We wish things like this could be prevented, but unfortunately they can't. But our prayers go out to them. Seek counseling. Go to a counselor. Anything you need to help heal from that trauma. Sorry. So
no, it's fine.
Thank you. Fine. We want to make sure we get that out of the way now before we go into analysis. We're gonna try to be careful because I know it's a really hot debate. It's really sad. We don't want to come off as
we're not
indifferent
or
cold.
We're not trying to advocate as advocates for or against. We're just we're trying to be rational about the discussion. Right? Yeah. So we're here hearing about how it's tragic and how it's bad and how our kids are not even safe in the schools. And you get your standard politician responses. Well, if we had strict gun control laws, maybe you'll save it. And then you have, the other side like, yeah, we're gonna do something about it just to try to help out what's going on. And before we even recorded, because we really, not that we wanted to give you like a formulated response, but we wanted it to go over what this debate should really be about. And why you shouldn't just jump to just saying gun control, or why you shouldn't just saying, yeah, well, we'll fix what we fixed the broken system that we have now. Mm-hmm. That's not enough. Mm-hmm. So
one of the things that we discussed, for example, California just recently made into law 15 new gun laws.
Right.
15 new gun laws. I haven't gone through all 15. I've gone through about 5 of them as a gun owner here in California. Mm-hmm. I'm still looking. I'll bring that report later on. But they just made 15 new gun laws, and some of the ones I read were so restrictive that, like, you can't even buy a gun till you're 21, and the only people who can buy it are like law enforcement and military, and there's other loopholes, and it's just confusing at the same time. But that's not the point. The point here is that in California we have background checks, we have confiscation, we have a lot of things that supposed to prevent things like this from happening. I mean, Governor Newsom just spoke about how he's tired of it and we need to do something stricter. Dude, you just signed 15 stricter laws in California, and yet this happened.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first debates. Another thing is we want to talk about, we're going to change the debate a little bit. We still believe that you have the right to own guns and, to bear arms for defense and all that stuff. But Eddie and I took the discussion into how do you prevent this, right? How do you foresee? Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is what everybody's talking today. Could this been prevented? What can we do to prevent it? And after thorough discussion, we just say you really can't. You really can't, and the debate ultimately cannot be about the tool.
So why can't we? What's the issue with why can't we instead of why can?
As far as
remember we discussed. I mean, I guess we have to talk about our human nature. Humans are so unpredictable.
Yeah. So why you can't prevent it? Like you said,
why can't you?
You can't because it always comes down to motive or intent, right? You could be the track star. You could be you'll be the most popular kid, but we don't know what you do behind closed doors. I mean, you were looking at an article from the LA Times, correct, where it's pointing out certain factors that all these mass shooters have in common. Mm-hmm. Some of them, and it was in the LA Times, and some of them point out that they will never post about mass shooters. They will never say that they're reading the manifestos. So you don't even know what's going on. Like, if you want to talk about red flag laws, some of these people don't even show signs of being mentally unstable.
Yeah, so one of the articles here and we discussed it before we made the article. We just wanted something to back us up, right? Yeah. Not just be opinion. Yeah. But one of the things we discussed is the background, right? Yeah. So what's going on at the home? The traumatized,
are they violent, abused?
The environment.
Right.
So that's the number one. I mean, if we can understand a child being violent in school based on what's going on at home, I think that's also a reason that we should be able to understand these shooters based on their home environment, right?
Yeah.
Now, assuming that the shooter didn't have a violent home, because like we said, we switched the conversation differently. Mm-hmm. Let's say he came in a nice home. I mean, Santa Clarita is a pretty well-off city.
Yeah, pretty off city.
Pretty off city.
You know what I learned about too is that it's predominantly populated by police officers.
Yeah, that's why it's considered one of the third safest. Yeah. So you pretty much we assumed, right, that he lived in a stable home, right? Mm-hmm. That his background wasn't as traumatic, at least. So we're trying to portray. We're trying to move away from the typical stuff and go on to a different scenario.
Deeper, just
yeah. Because we can easily blame trauma. We can easily blame past. But we said, okay, he's a track star. Let's say he's a well-off student. His parents probably wealthy or maybe middle class, maybe attorneys, doctors, professionals, or some degree where they can afford Santa Clarita. So the unpredictability is that he committed this crime. The motive we don't know yet. So how do you predict that? How do you
prevent
that? How do you
prevent the unpredictable?
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? And you can't because you just don't know. There's
signs, right?
Yeah,
there should be signs.
There should be signs, but maybe parents don't want to react to it, or parents. I don't want to say, look, I'm not a parent. You're not a parent. I'm not talking for parents.
We can only talk about when we grew up, right?
We grew up,
come from a perspective growing up.
And I can only back what I'm saying off based on other reports, what I read about how this mass shooter grow up. And from what I'm seeing, there's sometimes where parents they want to ignore the signs for hopefully the kid can go better, or they'll give them treatment and medicine, and the kid goes off medicine. We just don't know.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? We just don't know.
Yeah, that was the discussion we had about mental illness, right?
Mental illness, yes.
Because I think in one of the reports here, one of the op-eds that we agreed with, was talking about how mental illness is one of the reasons why people commit these crimes. But then it comes to the point where once the person is 18...
Yeah, it was person 18, but we're still speaking minors. But even it goes to what caused the mental illness. You see, we're still going. You still gotta go back and back and back. It's easy to say mental illness.
Where did it start?
Was
it how far back do you go?
Well, yeah, and how back you go. So the thing is, to understand the events, you have to understand the motive. I think, and the problem, I agree. The problem with understanding motive is that motive is not understood until the event happens, which goes to our conclusion that you really can't prevent the unpredictable. You can put as many gun laws as you want, you can put as many background checks as you want, but you're not gonna prevent the unpredictable. There's just no way.
Yeah, and it's true. And one of the scenarios we used here as our discussion today is, okay, let's look at when we hear about some wealthy millionaire who lost everything in the stock market, kills himself and his family, right? We hear that news, or we read it, or I remember some of that stuff like that, or we hear that a disgruntled employee goes and attacks, whatever. Those are typical, but the atypical, the non-typical ones is for example, the wealthy man who commits suicide, kills his family, commits suicide because he lost a couple of millions of dollars. Or the outgoing all-star person who snaps and just goes and kills over for whatever reason. So there's signs to some degree, right? We have red flag laws, and then we analyze that. What considers red flag? What is free speech and expression? So, when you go to work and you hit your work, you're like, man, I feel like I blow this place up. Will that be considered a red flag? Yeah. Or is that considered free speech or an expression? Or when we say, sometimes even in daily conversations, I'm dead. This is so funny. I'm so bored I can die. Or I'm so hungry. I'm dead. So then we're like, okay.
So
where do we draw the line?
Yeah, no, but like I said, those red flag laws are like the Spanish Inquisition or like the Salem witch trials. It's hearsay, and you're taking things out of context, and then it gets nowhere.
I think the actions should be able to provide some insight, but even actions are limited based on. We would have to literally be under surveillance 24/7.
Yeah.
Every single person in the United States in order to be able to prevent something.
You would have to live in George Orwell's world. And even then, in George Orwell's world, 1984, there were still people going to do things behind the scenes. So it's never foolproof. You can what we're trying to say, nothing is ever foolproof. You can have Big Brother watching you all day. If you're gonna commit a crime or try to do something bad or something illegal, you're gonna find a way to do it. You'll find a blind spot, go hang out there, right, and certain things. But when we come back to this, we got into another discussion, right? And this is because we weren't informed at the time. Should the parents even be held?
Oh, that's right.
Should the parents be held liable for the actions of this kid?
Sheesh.
Now, California has a law, passed one of the laws, that it says that parents are criminally liable for negligence criminal actions done by the kids if it involves negligence. At this time, we cannot say that happened either, but
that was a different perspective, true.
And we said, well, can they be held? Is it the parents' fault? And this is some discussion we're having. Like, dude, okay, so you have a safe, you have handprints, like, okay. Then we found out a statistic that that said by Gifford's Law Center, who has been dealing with this for 25 years, and it pointed out an interesting statistic here. It says that 4.6 million minors live in U.S. homes with at least one loaded gun. Unlocked.
Meaning that it's not put away.
It's not. Yeah.
It's either. Let's visually present this. It's probably under the drawer somewhere in a cabin, under drawer, under the bed, on top of the closet. You know that top part of it. You can put things. It could be there. So we don't want to say like, oh, it's in the kitchen table just laying there.
Right.
So to visually, when they talk about unlocked firearms, it's not in a safe. Pretty much. Right. It's not in a safe where you have to put a code in to access the gun. It's probably, like I said, in a cajon or a drawer somewhere under the, the underwear, on the side of the bed, on the nightstand, maybe in a kitchen drawer or on top of, So we don't want you to think, oh, it's on top of the table, like whatever's. No, it's just not locked up.
Not locked up, essentially.
So it could be hidden anywhere where you could just easily grab it.
And then it goes deeper. 73% children under age of 10 excuse me, living in homes with guns reported knowing the location of their parents' firearms, and 36% admitted that they handled the weapons. Many of these children handled guns without the knowledge of their parents. Nearly a quarter of the parents did not know the children had handheld a gun in their house. So again, we have the instance where children know the gun, where the gun is, or children have handled the gun, right?
That sounds alarming, right?
Right.
If you read it off the bat, like, oh my God, it sounds alarming. But let's think about it practically, right? We're pragmatists. It's like when you show off, like when you take a friend or your kid, whatever, and you're like, oh, look at my new toy, or look at TV, you grab it, right? Same thing, like, oh, look at my dad's gun.
Right.
They show it off. They might, play. We've seen reports in the news where a child accidentally kills a friend because they grabbed their dad's gun.
Which is right here. Which
is pretty much right there.
Yeah.
I mean, put yourself in your shoes as when you were a kid, right? If you weren't a super perfect, never does anything bad kind of person, you probably don't qualify. But if you're like the average kid who likes to show off, or sneak in something, oh look, this and that.
But for the sake of argument here, is should the parents be held liable for this instance? And we don't know.
Dangerous.
It's a California law. So if they find out that this gun was under the bed and he got it and he went to shooting, then this applies, right?
But it's technically by the word of the law, yes. But given the study, parents don't even know they have access to it. Or they played with it, right? You just read
that the
show
parents
that don't even know.
Though the parents don't know.
Yeah, so
but the thing, it goes back to saying like you should store that if you're a prosecutor, right?
I think that's too dangerous.
It's dangerous, but I get it, and it's extreme. But that's what they're gonna go for. They're gonna say, well, why didn't you have it in the safe? Why did your kid have access to it, right? And this is what we're saying where. You see how you can put as many laws as you want. Not only does it get dangerous, you're talking about red flag laws and freedom of speech. You're holding parents accountable.
Restrictions
on a weapon that they legally bought for defensive purposes, right? A kid with bad intentions does this. That's what we're ultimately.
And then there's another report too we read here where like if we're gonna hold parents liable, I mean we're gonna go back to like you can only do it after the age of 10.
Yes, from 10 and on, yeah.
10 and on, because
Yeah,
they're more cognizant
Yeah.
on good and bad, and that's a report by CNN.
The most trusted news.
So they say, right?
Yeah.
But there's some good articles here.
Well, yeah,
I'm trying to find it, but pretty much that's what it said.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if we hold parents liable for mass shootings because they used their weapon, a minor used their weapon, then that opens the floodgates for other liabilities that parents must take that their child did, right? So now, for example, if a 16-year-old commits a crime in the street and kills someone, right? Now the parents have to go to jail because they're responsible for them. So it's like it gets murky, like that's what's dangerous.
Based on the CAP laws that we have here now,
I think the qualification would be is like super negligent, like they left it on top of the coffee table, or I think that's because it's not really applicable.
Guns in homes pose a clearly safe risk. When household guns are not safe or not stored safely or securely, the risk of death increases. Child access prevention laws hold gun owners accountable for the safe storage of firearms, imposing liability for failing to keep simple yet important measures to prevent guns from falling into young hands. Like I said, if you don't put it in a safe or some sort of lockup,
I get that.
Yeah.
But okay, I understand that. That's obvious.
Right.
But when we hear news about mass shooters, we don't blame the parents. But when we hear news that a child accidentally kills a brother or a sibling or a neighbor because they were playing with the gun, then we think of the parents being liable under this law.
Right.
So the application of the law hasn't been consistent. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, the argument for the application of the law hasn't been consistent because now when we look at this, are we talking about the parent? What has been the talk about today?
About the student. And about gun laws. Right?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Now I'm trying to say is that, okay, now imagine how many parents risk their own freedom based on the decision of their own child. I mean, there's things that we kids or in high school you do without the parents' knowledge. I mean, how many kids do underage drinking and underage smoking and,
right.
and
No, but I think
having sex.
Yeah. But you see,
and so now we're gonna have it opens.
Exactly. That's
like I understand where it's trying to come from. Like, okay, parents should be more careful with the gun, and I agree.
No. What I'm trying to say is that we're gonna go round and round and round in circles because you point out. Well, if this is safe, this is unsafe, and because that's unsafe.
Who picks and chooses? Yeah.
No. Now we gotta make a law for that, and we're gonna make a law for that.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The argument, the situation is being distracted by that. Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to relate to.
Pretty much our conclusion.
Everything else is noise.
Yeah, pretty much.
CAP laws, all this is noise. You want to understand the heart of the matter. What drove this kid to do it? It's a simple question. What drove this child to pick up a gun and shoot classmates? Like, I want to say 8 classmates, but he was the 8th person. So, shoot 7 of his classmates, right? Injure 6, and then shoot himself. What was the influence?
What was the motive behind that?
And what you're hearing right now from politicians is it's like if the gun spoke to him, and I hate to say it this way, hey, use me today.
Just go kill your friends.
Go kill your friends. That is the most.
Sounds like some Conjuring stuff.
This is the argument you're hearing from people like Kamala Harris, who was at MSNBC today, and says that you cannot understand this thing intellectually. Like, what do you mean you cannot understand this intellectually? That's how you understand the thing in the first place. Are you supposed to just be...
your mind.
You're supposed to just be emotionally rational about it? No, you have to understand the person, the motive. So, like we say, you can't prevent it, but you know what you can do? React to it better. Because you have. There's been improvements. Yeah. The responses have been better. I was just talking to Jaime how at work, if we have a mass shooter, they're teaching us to do 3 things. Run away, hide, or fight. What did I hear? They're teaching kids in schools now? Run away, hide, or fight. So I hate to say it, but in cases like this, you learn by experience. As cold as that just came out of my mouth. You learn by experience. Because you don't know when this person's gonna act.
Yeah, we humans are unpredictable. We're unpredictable. And let's look at a daily life, right? We don't know when someone's gonna snap and yell at you. You don't know when your boyfriend or girlfriend is mad at you, because we're unpredictable. And simple day-to-day lifestyle, day-to-day life task. You could be in line and someone snaps and starts yelling at the person behind the Popeyes for some chicken. You don't know. We hear violence over some chicken sandwich. We're unpredictable as humans. We don't know how the other person can react.
So what?
We're not saying to be walking around all suspicious, but you learn how to react to respond to that.
And we need to get away from blaming the tool. And by this, I mean the whole gun control debate. Stop blaming the tools. If it's not guns today, it will be a knife tomorrow. Mm-hmm. If it's not a knife, it will be a bomb. You can download the Anarchist Handbook. They teach how to make home bombs. What you need to start learning the motives. The motives is the only way, and by learning the experiences, I hate to say it, I think that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, we agreed to on our earlier debate is that, look, we went from, in all of human history and all of criminology and human history and laws and everything, we've always blamed the perpetrator, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
We've never blamed the tool. We never made the tool the problem. We always made the person committing the crime the problem. In all human history, if you think about any mass murder, for goodness sake, Hitler, let's just be simple. The Nazis, we don't blame gas chambers. We don't blame concentration camps for the deaths of millions of Jews. We blame them. Yeah. The leader, Hitler, and his ideology and the people carrying out that. We hold those individuals responsible for the deaths. As recent as American history, how many times do we hear that the American government is responsible for the mass murders of Indian lifestyle? We don't blame the smallpox. We don't blame famine. We don't blame the guns. We don't blame the methods. We blame the person. We blame the U.S. Cavalry or General so-and-so and so on and so on and so. When we talk about slavery, we don't blame the chains. We don't blame the whips. We don't blame the dogs for the violence in slavery. We blame the plantation owner. We blame the person who works for a plantation owner. The law, right? The people committing the crime, not the tools used in the crime. And that's something me and Eddie concluded, is that we're changing from blaming the person who commits the crime to blaming the tool used in the crime. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're blaming the guns. Oh, we gotta ban guns, but we don't hold the person accountable for their actions. Yeah. As recent as Manson, right? The Manson, we held him accountable for the murders, for influencing the women to commit murder. Yeah. We didn't influence his speech. We didn't influence, his speech. But you know what I'm trying to say? We didn't influence the gun or the knives used in the murders. We said, this man, Manson, is degenerate, crazy, and he should be in jail. He's responsible, not the tool. And that's what Eddie and I came to the conclusion is, we're going from holding the individual responsible for the action to holding an inanimate object responsible for violence.
Here's a little homework assignment I want to give to the viewers. Look at 13 mass shootings in the last 20 years for high schools.
From 2000
to 2019.
2019.
I want you guys to look at the mass shootings. So that's the shootings that involve 4 or more people. Look how they obtained the gun or the tool. Mm-hmm. Look how they obtained it. And then listen to what politicians are telling you today, or what people how they want to formulate this debate. That makes absolutely no sense. Once you do that, comment below and tell us what you think, because that's what Jaime and I are saying. Look at the person. Don't look at the tool. The tool's not going to tell you anything. There's been mass murders done by other means. 9/11, airplanes. I was telling Jaime about...
Remember the anthrax guy?
The anthrax guy in Japan or whatever it was. Oh,
the anthrax threats that they mailed anthrax.
Yeah, they mailed but it wasn't. But I'm talking about actual mass murders. If you look, I was telling Jaime about this one I read in 1980 something, where the guy bought $1 worth of gasoline and lit a building on fire. It killed 87 people. Rwanda, machetes. I mean, there's other ways you can conduct mass murder. It's not about just guns. You gotta look at motive. If you understand motive, you can react to that terrible situation. So, I mean, I'm gonna leave it there.
We'll leave it with that homework. Look at
it, and then let us know what you comment below. How do you guys feel about this? How do you feel about the argument itself? I mean, I know we're still learning about this guy. We'll follow up on it, but let us know below in the comment section, please. But yeah, so sad days. Let's move on. Yeah. Before we go on forever on this debate. This week, actually, in a couple of days, Univision is gonna have a Democratic forum. Univision, one of the largest Hispanic television network here in the United States, is gonna have a debate, a forum. Okay. Mm-hmm. The interesting part about this forum, it's the following. One, it's gonna be held during the California Democratic Convention. Mm-hmm. So it's already Democrats. Mm-hmm. And not only is it just going to be a Democratic convention, meaning that we already know where this is going. It's biased, right? They're going to have 5,000 people in attendance. Mm-hmm. Okay, only 5,000 people in attendance. Those 5,000 people, and I quote, are the most dedicated Democratic activists and opinion makers in the nation's most populous state. Dedicated Democrats, activists, and opinion makers. So it's not even a real forum with regular people who can ask real questions. Yeah. This forum by Univision, which will probably be in Spanish. Yeah, it will be.
And these,
audience
are coming.
So for the viewers,
this is the setup, okay? Then we'll talk the opinion. Democratic convention. Yeah. Okay, so we already know liberal. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be by 5,000 Democrat activists and opinion makers. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they're preaching to the choir. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's already, we're all rational. We always tell you guys are rational people. We're rational people. We need to be super scientists to understand that this is pretty much already set up on how the conversation and the forum is going to go, which are going to be the punchlines we're going to talk about right now. So think about it. Think about it like going to your work, right? Let's say
what I want to get to the viewers is, why is this even important? Because why is this important? Mm-hmm. Right? Because when I found out about an article by USA Today, it says how it's literally the title of the article is how Latinos can help Democrats beat Donald Trump in California in 2020. Right? And
that's the title.
Right, is that it right there? Yeah, in California, 2020 primary Latino voters can help Democrats defeat Donald Trump. From there, we learned about this event, right? Well, that's what we learned, that they're going to have the forum. Mm-hmm. Now we have a problem. Because just a week ago, we discussed how Latinos are going to be the most important
voting bloc
in 2020. Mm-hmm. Okay? I've asked, how has the Democratic Party, how does one party represent an entire community? Mm-hmm. This is where I'm getting to. Mm-hmm. I'm a conservative. Mm-hmm. You're a conservative.
Oh, I am.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Does the Democratic Party speak for me? I don't know. You know why I don't know? Because I don't have access to this.
Well, for me, they don't talk to me.
They don't talk to you, right? They don't talk to you. They don't talk to me. They don't talk to many in the Hispanic community.
Well, they portray like they do.
They portray, but they don't.
They make you.
Did you? Okay, let's.
This is like Hollywood. This is like a movie set.
I got you. But did you even know this was going on?
No, I didn't even know. We found out about this literally today when we were doing research.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, there's a forum on the 16th. I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't know either. We're like, wait, what? We looked it up. We Googled it. Yeah, it's a Democratic convention. So we already know off the bat, Univision is going to broadcast this as the Democratic debate. Mm-hmm. Democratic debate by Univision. Oh, look at how we care about the Latino community. But yet it's on the backdrop and being held during the Democratic convention in California by 5,000 Democrats who push the agenda, who get out voters to vote Democrat, who push the agenda of the Democratic Party. 5,000 people who are registered Democrats, who believe in Democratic ideology, who do anything. I mean, activists. I mean, what else? Voter registrations,
Right.
people who influence Democrats, who are for Democrats, want Democrats, are never going to change from being Democrats.
Yeah.
If this was a Republican thing, and
This
Fox
kind of-
News
this kind of
did the
article.
same exact thing as Univision is doing, all news broadcasts and all news outlets will say Republicans are lying, they're cheating, and they're making it look like they're open-ended, and they're not. It's all biased.
Well,
But yet they're doing a biased forum, and no one's talking about how evil and
Exactly.
cheating and brainwashing the Democratic Party is, or Univision is. They're not.
Well,
Sorry.
So yeah, like
No, I'm not sorry.
Yeah, like
It's a bunch of lies. It's lies.
The article points out that Pew Research says that we're 39% of the state's 40 million residents. Right? We're 39%. We're almost half of the state's residents.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to say. And this article by USA Today points us all out as Democrat. Like we're all liberal. This is where it's bothering me. How are you gonna have an honest and fair forum when the minority, right? Or you're not even pointing out that that there's perhaps a minority group, right, that says, well, you know what, they're on the other side. They don't. I mean, they're on the other side. Why? What? And then I'm speaking like, why hasn't this other side speaking up? And this,
So it's like pretty much all Latinos are Democrat. Which
it's
is,
like, all Latinos are Democrat. Okay, what about the other? Like,
what about the conservatives? Hello.
hi.
We don't count, or what?
What bothers
I guess
me?
not.
What bothers me is that we're going into 2020, right? And they're saying that California, and this is when I appeal to for other. This is outside the MM Talk spectrum, but it's like go out there, be active, and all that. But as to whatever your political leaning is, unfortunately, the majority right now is Democrat. Right? You have the upper edge.
Secretly conservative.
But if you, like I've said, want to come out of the closet and you want to join the movement and go for it, but this is what I'm saying. This is false representation is what I'm getting to. It's false.
Yes.
We are not all Democrat. We are not all Democrat. This article by USA Today, which also quotes the Latino... What's it called? Latino? What is the thing called? The Latino Community Forum.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah,
that
this organization that has a video. This one has a video. It's like, imagine if all Latinos graduated college, and he just like.
I literally said,
and then he says like, why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we graduate high school? Like, why is it so hard to graduate high school? We literally took out
graduate college, right?
Yeah, I mean that would be hard.
And then
finish college, but high school,
why can all Latinos promote social justice? And I'm like looking at T-shirts that says anti-Trump this, walls not this, and then it's like okay,
immigrants first,
refugees first. And all this LGBTQs, whatever, all left-wing ideology, identity politics.
And not only that, that foundation has been well known to be pro-Democrat.
Pro-Democrat, yeah.
Which is fine. It could be pro-whatever.
That's fine. But the thing is...
go ahead.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you have the media trying to say that's what the Latino community is, I'm standing here and going like...
No one asked us any questions.
Nobody's asking MM Talk...
Where's my survey?
Nobody's going on my Instagram page and asking like, Getty, do you agree with that? Or Jaime, your page or your emails like, do you believe in that?
Well, I never got the survey, so I don't know how
I know.
we qualify.
I mean, I'm not part of that 74% of the Hispanics who are anti-Trump, according to the survey they made. You know,
which is probably like they surveyed probably like 1,000 people.
Yeah, well,
and out of those 1,000 people, 700 of them said we don't like Trump, and therefore that represents the entire Latino community.
Yeah.
That's how statistics works.
Yeah,
it's a small fraction of the group of the community, and we represented it as a greater.
Yeah.
But
so you have this left-leaning
that failed in 2016.
You have this left-leaning activist group. Polling Latinos who are not conservative,
who pretty much are saying agreeing with them, right?
And they are now saying, "Well, look, if you go to the forum, your voice will be heard," and you're now portraying the Latino community. And I'm sitting here like, "No, you're not. No, you're not. Because if you were, there wouldn't be a Lexit movement like we said last week. You wouldn't have."
Doing this.
You wouldn't have other Republican or conservative organizations that are predominantly Latino,
and you wouldn't have Latinos who are Republican who have been groundbreakers in the past, who've been elected to office in high positions of government, who were literally Latinos and Republican.
So not only
the first Latino Attorney General of the United States was Latino and Republican. Gosh, but we don't talk about that, do we? No.
But
Sorry.
the thing is,
we talk about Sotomayor. Okay, yeah, Sotomayor.
But the thing is, I'm looking at this like, so we're going to 2020. We're being misrepresented in the media, and here's another example.
And it's clear bias. I mean, if you don't see how clearly biased this, and that's my anger, Univision is literally telling Latinos vote Democrat.
It is.
And literally is telling them without them saying vote Democrat. They're literally saying vote Democrat.
Yeah,
literally. We're angry about Russian influence, whatever. That false allegation about Russian influence in the 2016 election, dude. Univision is influencing the way they're literally telling Latinos vote Democrat.
Yeah.
Don't vote anyone else, vote Democrat. That's where you need to vote.
D good.
If that's not influencing the election, that's not influencing the outcome of election, then I don't know what world we live in, what universe we're living in. Because even in a parallel universe, 35th dimension, whatever the hell you want to call it, would call this a clear influence on the 2020 election.
So we're being
Univision at the Democratic Convention with only Democrats on the forum asking questions
that will be Democrat friendly.
That's only Democrat friendly are going to be supposedly unbiased.
And when it gets to Jorge Ramos, because I know he's going to be there,
he's going to be there. Oh my God.
What is, we're going to go back to being the single topic voting block. Immigration is Donald Trump is racist.
DACA.
And DACA.
Immigration, the refugee points.
And I'm like, I'm going to watch the forum because I need to watch it now.
And that's why Latinos don't understand how government works. And that's why the Latino community doesn't understand.
No, the Latino community is not being represented because
they're not being educated.
It's not educated because it's viewed as immigration is the only thing affecting the Latino community. We already went. I go look at our previous episode of MM Talk.
Same thing.
It's not even number one. We are being so misrepresented right now. It's not even funny.
We're literally being told how to think
vote and how to think
by Univision.
By Univision. It's, man, talk about state media.
Yes. Thank you. We can talk about other countries with their state media.
It's like, no, you can't even call it state media because it's more like, what, identity media?
No, political media. One-party media.
One-party media. However you want to view this.
This unbiased news networks. Remember, all news networks call themselves unbiased and fairly representative. Yeah, Univision, you're really being fair by being at the California Democratic Convention, only having 5,000 Democrats asking questions at a forum to represent Latinos, and you're going to broadcast it nationally and internationally as this is what Latinos think. No, this is what Democrats think. And you're making it...
And this is what Latino Democrats think.
Yeah, you're making it seem like Latinos think this way.
I'm like... And so folks, it's one of the things that this is why Jaime and I started MM Talk. In the first place, we were like, dude, like, as a Latino, do you feel represented by the media, or do you feel like you're being... are they telling you what you actually...
They're telling me what you think and who to vote for.
Yeah, and I'm like, no.
They're thinking for me.
I said no. And I said, well, let's talk about it. Let's create the show. And they were like... And we're here, and now it's in black and white. Jaime finds the event.
Yeah, and that's the thing we propose. Like, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about conservative values. Not only conservative values, let's talk about rational things too, of what affects the Latinos. And let's look at analyze the truth behind things. Because there's some things, like we said, there's some things in conservatism that we don't agree with, and there's some things in liberal policies that we agree with. Right? So we're more of a balance. Let's look at rationally. Let's be realistic. Let's be smart about it. We proposed this idea. We agreed about making this idea. We're like, you know what? We got to go out there and do this. And we're doing it. And Univision is pretty much being so biased. Like, it's so and obvious. It's so biased.
You know what? But credit to them. You know what? Credit to them. Because although it's bad for the Latino community, where's I would say, where's the conservative thing? But what do we get now? And this is another discussion I don't want to get into.
So a year ago, I came to Eddie and was like, you know what? You and I broadcast a podcast.
Yeah.
You and I podcast. Let's do it.
But there's some,
and we're doing it.
I'm not going to get into this whole debate, but there's some more organizations out there right now that are infighting because they're using the same tactics as the other side is, and I'm not going into that debate. But it's like like I say. Yeah,
I really don't care about it. Personally,
right. But it's like, where is the conservative strong platform? Like, where is the Republican strong platform? Like, why aren't Republicans I know strategically it wouldn't make sense, but you're trying to turn a state, then you're gonna have to. Okay, let's put it this way: where's the California GOP on this? You know what I'm saying? Like,
why aren't they making a big deal?
Why aren't they making a big deal out of this?
Or, why aren't they speaking out against it? Why are they saying, like, really? You're going to have it at the Democratic convention by only Democrats, only at the forum. Why don't you bring us conservative Latinos into it? Why don't you invite us to have a real debate, to have real questions asked to this?
Let's not say real, because all questions are real, but let's say
they're not. They're not real. It's scripted. It's scripted. It's real. I hate Trump. You hate Trump? Yeah, I hate Trump too. Okay. You want free healthcare? Yeah, I want free healthcare. Okay, yeah, move right out. It's scripted. Like, how is this not going to be scripted?
I go real in the sense that it was written on paper, sir.
That's not real. That's scripted. It's real people asking scripted questions.
Can we have real talk here? Let's get some real talk. Is California ready for conservative Latinos now?
Yes. Yes, we are, because we're conservative. We care about family. We care about having money in our pockets. We're the most business entrepreneur people. We don't like being taxed the hell out of. We like to keep money in our pockets. And yet the Democrats are saying that they represent Latinos.
So I plead to everybody who goes out there, you should be really, if you're conservative Latinos, and you don't even, I bet, if you were not even aware of this, you're now aware.
Now you know.
Because you should be heated that USA Today is panning us all as Democrats, and it shouldn't be surprised, but it's like, now if you're in California, I'm having a forum 90 minutes from where I live saying that I'm a Democrat, and I'm like, I'm not a Democrat. And the first thing I asked them, Jaime, can we get tickets? Because I swear to God, can we go? And it's like, well, you have to have a pass, and we're sold out. Okay, well, I guess 5,000 Democrats already on there. But you're not.
No, you know it's going to be scripted. Come on.
¿Usted piensa que Donald Trump odia a los latinos? Sí.
Okay.
Never
Can
mind.
we talk about something else? I mean,
¿Y por qué odian los latinos?
What angers me is
¿Por qué odian los latinos?
So scripted, so obvious.
¿Y por qué odian los latinos? Porque quieren el muro.
The wall. It's so biased. Like, it's so biased that if Republicans were to do this, the media would have a frenzy on how biased.
No, not only the media, right?
But yet,
let's flip the script, right? Republicans have a forum for Latinos. First of all, it's like, they exist.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
No, not only that. You would have Latinos talking about, like, they're whitewashed.
Yeah, no, that's what I was getting to.
They're just paid to go up there.
And then you're white, like, you just want to be white. There's the same punchlines, and I'm like, why do we have to be white? So, like, when did I lose my brownness or
because you have conservative values,
right? Because I'm a conservative. I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense. But that's what you would get. But like I said, I give kudos to this because they're strong in doing this, and they're really strong in doing this. And I'm seeing no reaction from my side, like no reaction from saying, "Let's have our own freaking forum."
That'd be great. Have the California GOP have a forum with the Democratic debate.
Yeah, like where's Jessica Patterson? Right, that's the chairwoman.
Yeah, and she's Latina.
And she's Latina. She's like, I forgot. Yeah, she's a Latina. Jessica Patterson, the chairwoman of the Republican Party of California, is a Latina, and I'm not aware of it, but I am not hearing no outreach about this.
As of right now.
Where's your platform for the Latino community? They're telling you they're going to help them defeat Trump in 2020. I get it, it's California. But
you know what?
But this article says...
We'll end it here. Yeah. I think me and Eddie are up to something right now.
Yeah.
We're up to something right now. We'll end it here.
We'll keep you posted.
We'll keep it posted.
Because our brains are working.
Yeah. We'll keep it at that right now. Thank you once again for joining. Okay, so let's conclude this conversation.
So thank you for tuning in. Okay. I know we went a little rant, but it's because we're heated about this. But thank you for tuning in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share again, please. If you like the show, post it on your Instagram, Facebook, whatever, Twitter.
Share the link.
But like I said, we need the help with the subscriptions. We need the help through the shares and all that. If you like
support us, if you like what we say, you don't have to like 100% everything we say. You might disagree with a lot of points, but if overall you like us, either because we're good looking or you like our ideas, go ahead and like us. Subscribe.
All right, and with that, I'm Eddie Marmoleo.
And I'm Jaime Moreno.
And this is MM Talk, and remember,
We're tired of it too.